This is probably a topic that's been overdone, but I wanted to give you my thoughts about one of my favorite steels, Maxamet. Maxamet is a phenomenally good steel for a pocket knife. And the reason I say that is I am a big fan of edge retention, and I appreciate a knife that just doesn't go dull on me in the middle of my task or my project. And I can tell you from firsthand experience that it is difficult to find a better steel than Maxamet when it comes to just everyday cutting tasks. This steel will chop through damn near anything, and you will smile all the while as your knife slices through everything as if it was just off the stone. Maxamet's currently available in 4 platforms from Spyderco. All 4 are standard models. They are not sprint runs. They are not exclusives, which means that you and I can go and get them anytime we want. They do only seem to manufacture it at certain times of the year, so it can be a little difficult to find it. But if you're patient and you have a favorite dealer, I'd encourage you to reach out to that favorite dealer and just say, hey man, when you get one in, look me up, I want to get one. It's a great way to get this steel. Whether you're a Manix man, Para Military 2, Para 3, or a native guy, they have a wide range for you. And I personally carry these for different reasons at different times. The Native 5 is my go-to knife if I'm going to be wearing shorts over the weekend and I'm going out in the woods, or if I'm going to a cookout or something like that and I don't want to carry my fancy pants knife. That's usually the one that I'll bring with me. If I anticipate bigger cutting tasks, then I'll bring my Manix. Another fantastic knife, lightweight with fantastic edge on it. Lots of grip. I got to meet Sawglasser once, and he wouldn't stop talking about grip. That was like his favorite feature. So it's something that I appreciate very much about Spydercos. Just for everyday carry to and from work, out and about, running errands, I'm probably going to reach for my Paramilitary 2. I like the length of the blade. I like the size of the handle. And I just can't get enough of the Paramilitary 2. This is my favorite platform with one of my favorite steels. Who could go wrong with that? So a little bit about the steel and what makes it unusual. To start with, this steel has an obscene amount of carbides in it. It has 22% by weight carbides. So you can think of carbides as being the effective part of the steel in terms of cutting and slicing through whatever it is you're cutting. The steel, by that I mean the iron, is really the glue that holds the carbides together, and then the carbides are what do the cutting. So just to run through it very quickly, the steel is 10% by weight cobalt, 13% tungsten, and 6% vanadium. So that's an obscene amount of carbide in a blade. What that means to you is that this steel is going to be much, much, much better at edge retention than almost any other steel on the market. The only steels that I know of that are better than this steel would be Rex 121, which is virtually impossible to find in a folder, or it's going to be a tungsten carbide blade, which is technically not even steel. Now, you can't have everything, right? You can't have a blade that's tough, that has great edge retention, and is stainless. So in the case of Maxamet, the sacrificial lamb is going to be the stainlessness of the steel. This steel only has 2.15% carbon, and it has 4.75% chromium. So what that means is that this steel is going to be very susceptible to oxidization. It's going to be susceptible to pitting and developing a patina. It's going to be very sensitive to acids. So if you cut a lemon and don't wash your blade, you're going to know that you're going to get a change in color on the blade. I personally find that these things are pretty easy to mitigate. If you have a tube of Flitz polish and you apply it to your blade from time to time and wipe it down, keep it oiled, I think you're going to be very satisfied with this steel. Just know that it's not going to be factory fresh every time you look at it. It's going to require some pretty good maintenance to keep it going. Another contributing factor to this steel that makes it very unique is the hardness of it. The steel has a hardness from somewhere between 67 to 69 optimally, and that is tremendously hard compared to other steels which generally peak out around 61. So the higher the hardness, the more difficult the steel is to sharpen. I've found personally that when I sharpen Maxamet, I find that it stays sharper, and is more enjoyable to cut with if I leave the edge toothy. So I generally don't go very, very fine on my sanding to give it a mirrored edge. I prefer the toothier, more aggressive edge on the knife. I just find that it cuts better. And that's because the nature of the carbides are that they probably would rather be right at the edge of the knife. And if the carbides are a little bit aggressive and toothy, then that means your edge is going to be toothy. So there's a misconception in the market that Maxamet is a very fragile steel. If you compare this to crewware, it's obviously more fragile because crewware is one of the more durable steels on the market. Crewware, Z-Wear, Z-Tough, these are all steels that are very popular at the moment because of the fact that they're tough. And by tough, I would mean that if I wanted to somehow cut this knife in half and I were to hammer the back of the blade, if you do that with Maxamet, you're going to have a bad day. If I did it with crewware, I might actually get through that FRN. So, however, crewware does not have anywhere close to the edge retention to Maxamet. You can probably find that if we took a medium like a piece of rope and I just made cuts with it until the knife was dull, you're probably going to get 4 or 5 times more cuts with Maxamet than you are with crewware, just to give you a little bit of perspective on that. So that being said, how is the toughness? Well, the toughness is actually better than S110V, which is a steel that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. S110V is a phenomenally good edge retention steel that's also stainless. Now in that steel, the big trade-off is you don't get toughness. The steel is going to be tougher because they're not chasing the stainless nature. For my book, my world, I would rather a blade be durable and have good edge retention than worry about stainless. So, but that's just me, I'm crazy like that. If you haven't yet tried Maxamet, I highly recommend it. It is available certain times of the year. Spyderco will do runs of it. It still sells out very quickly, so if you find it, you're going to want to jump on it. On the used market, the steel retains its value really well. I do not recommend putting a forced patina on this steel. I know several friends in my group that have tried to do a forced patina and they basically destroyed the blade. So an analogy I like to make is that Maxamet is very much like a oatmeal cookie with walnuts in it. And when you force a patina on the steel, it's just like taking that oatmeal cookie and dipping it in your coffee. So what will happen is that the cookie matrix is going to start falling apart and everything's just going to crumble. The walnuts will kind of fall out of the cookie. And that seems to be what happens with Maxamet when you press and force the patina on the steel. My recommendation is just use this steel, just enjoy it. Don't worry about trying to force a patina on it. Did you see that? Did you guys see that? Did you catch that? Ooh, I got lucky. Just use the steel. Don't worry about the patina part. If you want to force some patina, go for M4. M4 takes a patina really good. Rex 45, fantastic. You can burn those with all the acid you want, and they're just going to look cool. But Maxamet, keep it clean, keep it polished. I think you're going to be happier with it. So I hope this helps a little bit. I hope this brings to light some things to really look for on Maxamet and reasons why you might enjoy it. For me, this is one of my very favorite steels to carry. I love the idea that not only is Spyderco perhaps the best in terms of just user interface when you're using the knife, the grip, the jimping, the feel of the knife in the hand, the usability of the compression lock, and then I combine all those features with Maxamet steel. It's just hard to beat. You have a knife that's going to be unlike anything else at the party. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you some good insight. If you want to continue the conversation, please join us at our Facebook club. You can find us at Millie PM2 Para 3 Club. You can also find us on Instagram. On Instagram, it's called Millie PM2 Para 3 Club. Links are going to be down below because I'm probably saying it wrong, but we'd love to have you in the group. Thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful. Have a good night.